Hello out there. Today's contraption is a Brown Sharpe number 00 hand milling machine. Hand specifically because of those two levers, the one for up and down and the one for table feed. This was really a production machine. Set a jig up in it, make a whole bunch of the same part type thing. So that's what the hand is kind of good for. Not the best for R&D, doing little jobs like that where you want to be precise with a hand wheel instead, but when these things come available, you got to snatch them up because they're pretty scarce. The table locks in all axes. You can see on the screw that's coming down for the up and down feed, you have two jam nuts, or there's a total of 4 nuts, 2 jam on the top and 2 on the bottom. So those set the limits of up and down. The table feed is set by limits on the face, kind of near the little hand crank. And the in and out feed with that little crank handle, there's another socket beside it. That thing is the limit for the in and out feed. Excuse my technical terms, X, Y, and Z. The overarm on this thing is the only way I've really been able to date it. I'd assume around 1915, 1916, based on the catalogs available on vintagemachinery.org, an amazing reference for anyone who has or hasn't been there. It's probably a First World War production machine if I was a gambling man. Like I said, there's limits. There are also locks for the tables based on what operation you're going to do that are actuated under and on the column, under the table and on the column. The countershaft on this has been mounted to the side, as many of these machines were adapted with for electric motors. Also in the realm of production, there are 3 steps on these pulleys. The original pulleys were 4 steps that came with these for 2-inch wide belt, and that would give you a range of speed from 125 to 500 RPM on the cone, as the catalog says. Largest pulley being 9-inch diameter, which would be equivalent to the largest size on this. However, the steps are much closer, symbolizing that it probably only worked in production in a very certain range of speeds. So those will probably have to be evicted if I'm going to be looking for a bit more of a universal application. I can also say that the countershaft was sped to 250 RPM originally with 1 tight and 2 loose pulleys on the older version. I'll clarify with the dating and the way the overarm works. Earlier Brown Sharpe machines had the overarm as 1 casting from what I understand. So the actual Arbor support and the overarm were 1, and you can tell by the way that the Arbor support was kind of curved. The orange one here is a separate piece. It's a cast Arbor support, and the overarm itself is a steel shaft. So that was later 2-piece instead of 1. It makes it look a little bit more blocky, I find. I like the elegance of the earlier curved overarm. But anyway, the catalog Brown Sharpe 1904 and 1909 show the hand milling machine with a cast overarm. So I'll need to find a nut for the Arbor. There is no nut. I put that cutter on there just for show, but it's not actually being held in tension. The spindle is also a number 9 Brown Sharpe taper, which is being a bit of a unit to get out. So I tried bonking it from the back through the spindle. The hole in the spindle hasn't worked yet, and I don't want to wreck anything, of course. The bearings are bronze, with end play adjust in the back, and little oil holes and little oil reservoirs. Very cute, actually. If the bronze bearings are to leak in the casting, there are little troughs under the bearings that kind of collect the oil and run it down into a trough on the inside of the casting that has a drain in the back that I'll show you. Also in the back, I'm not showing it here, there's an orifice, a hole in the back, whereas the bigger mills had side doors for putting accessories. These ones have a hollow with a back entrance to put a counterweight, so it's more easy for the operator to move up and down the table with the throw arm. I'm trying to play with the steps here to see the variety of speeds Guessing right now it runs around 500 RPM. So the 3 speeds maybe give a range of 450 to 550. So obviously the countershaft is going to come off that whole contraption. We're going to mount it to line shaft as it should be. And I'll show some close-ups and a little bit of stripping it down. And we'll go from there. There we are. All that nonsense on the side been removed, been evicted. Gonna start stripping apart top down and see how it goes. Find pulleys, make a countershaft, start the resto. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed and have a good one.